Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to FreshBaked. You know, Disneyland news these days has been pretty disheartening. Like I said in our last news video, it's kind of like watching a soap opera. But today, rather than talk about those news items that did come up yesterday, which there were some interesting topics, I want to take a break. I want to take a break from that today. We'll get to those tomorrow, maybe over the weekend, who knows. But I want to take a break for that today and talk about something else that came to mind that it's really sort of a passionate topic for me as we discussed in our Saturday update from Downtown Disney. Today, we're going to talk about possibilities. What is possible? What can be done at Disneyland today? And I ask this question because right now, today, things don't seem very hopeful, even in spite of whatever positive news we might be able to glean from what happened yesterday and the day before. I'm still of the opinion that it's unknown. It's indefinite. There's no date, there's no idea. And I want to talk about what we can do in the meantime to sort of bridge that gap before the parks open. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy our visits to Downtown Disney more than I ever have in the past, partly because I don't have Disneyland to go to. But spirits are low among some Disney fans, and there will come a time when Disney won't be able to count on that sort of reserve, that cachet they have of goodwill, of love, of unconditional love that many of us have for the parks. That there is an expiration date on that, I think, through no fault of anybody's, really. It just is what it is if things keep going the way they've been. So I think at some point it is in Disney's interest to give us a little something, to provide something, some kind of magic to guests beyond, you know, a new gift shop at Stage 17 or even new merchandise at World of Disney. There has to be something for us beyond shopping. And not because we deserve it, like in the same way that we would if we had purchased a ticket. Going to Downtown Disney is free, fully understand that. But because I feel like we need to make sure that we keep that Disney spirit alive. Because I really don't enjoy the prospect, the idea of thinking about people falling out of love with Disney, losing that connection. What we need really is to experience Disneyland again in some way, some small way. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about ways that Disneyland can bring the park back to us within the limitations that they have. And we can start with what we've all been asking for since Taste of Calico at Knott's Berry Farm. What's happening, Disney? Why isn't this a thing for Disneyland? Now, up front, I don't even know if they can. We don't know if there's some sort of carve out from Knott's Berry Farm or some kind of loophole. We've talked about that in the past, but for the purposes of this conversation, let's pretend that they do have the ability to put on an event like this. What can they do? And it turns out there's a lot of things that they could do in the park, more individual stylized events that they could do than they did at Knott's, but it depends on what kind of scale you want to give this event. We talked about Taste of Main Street a few months ago when the Taste of Calico thing first happened. But that conversation was limited really just to food, and it was a food event, a Taste of Main Street event. But I feel like maybe that's not the direction that they should be taking these events, should they feel so inclined if they were to do these. I feel like the food shouldn't be the star, the park should be the star, and just the aesthetic is the star of the show. Let's make the lands the focus. We'll do a Taste of Adventureland, for example, and you give guests the access to Adventureland. They can get a Dole Whip, get some skewers from Bango Barbecue, go to Tropical Hideaway, get a different kind of float, maybe walk up Tarzan's Treehouse. Even better, let's see some of those Jungle Cruise boats just going by, and I feel like that would be an amazing thing for us, or maybe even just park one and let people look at it and observe it, and maybe have a skipper on board just sort of chatting with guests from that view you get at Tropical Hideaway, although I feel like that would probably be kind of a popular spot. But I digress. That is something that could be done. That's something that would make people feel those Disneyland feelings again. Now, one thing that Knott's had going for it with their events was that they were giving you access to, I don't know, at least a third, maybe a half of the park for Taste of Calico, even more for Taste of Knott's, and then the entire park for Taste of Halloween. That's not possible at Disneyland, not by a long shot. Not to mention that they were given access to this space for half a day, 8 hours, 9 hours, something like that. again, that's not possible at Disneyland. I feel like their events would probably be 2 or 3 hours tops. And that, by the way, that wouldn't be a big shock to anybody who's been to a special event at Disneyland. That's the way they've always done it. The Halloween events are just a few hours. The Disney After Dark are 3 hours. Not even 4, I don't think. And of course, I mean, that's necessary as well because of the limitation of the size. If we're reducing it to just one land. Likewise, you have to reduce the number of people that you get in. Instead of thousands going to Taste of Nuts, you're getting hundreds going to a Taste of New Orleans Square. Now, I know that sounds crazy and it sounds impossible or not enjoyable or whatever, but I mean, there is precedent for this. There have been events like this. Club 33 puts on a Taste of New Orleans style event occasionally, and it's doable, but again, it's small, a group of people as opposed to a large event. Therefore, you would probably expect to pay closer to $100, I would think, for an event like this, as opposed to maybe 35 or 38 as they were charging for Taste of Nuts. The only drawback to this sort of thing that we've talked about so far would be it makes it very exclusive and very difficult to get a ticket, I would imagine. They would sell out super fast, even at $100 for 3 hours. I would buy one. I'm just saying. I would do it. I would do that. And I would do one for any land that they come up with. Tomorrowland, Fantasyland, whatever. Although one thing that you could do, maybe if the scope of the size of the event is too small, maybe you combine, quadrants, Adventureland and Frontierland, or New Orleans Square and Critter Country, or, I don't know, something with Galaxy's Edge, Critter Country, Galaxy's Edge, I don't know. That's a possibility, but and I know it seems really blue sky and almost impossible, like I mentioned, but I mean, if their interest is to create more energy and more excitement, which I believe it should be, then this seems like a fun idea. They should find some way to make it happen. Now, having said that, the time is now to start looking at that. The time is now for them to start thinking of those things if they were planning to. Now, that's the low-hanging fruit, getting us inside the park. Everybody wants to be in the park. That's the easy thing, the easy idea to come up with. What if we can't do those? What if we can't do the taste events or something like that, the small events that just let us walk around and look and not ride or any rides or anything like that? What if we could only still play in the downtown Disney Esplanade sandbox? And there are quite a few good ideas that Disney could do to bring a little bit of magic to our visits to downtown Disney and the Esplanade. That could also maybe even get some cast members working that haven't worked or haven't been able to, aside from maintenance and things like that. Characters. I would love to see some characters in downtown Disney. Now, I know it's not as easy to do as it is in Disneyland, but there are still opportunities. An easy one, Princess Tiana in the balcony or the upper deck of Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen. I think, now these aren't necessarily themed to Disney, films or characters, anything like that, but it's still possible. But you've got upstairs venues or upstairs views from Ballast Point, Uva Bar, Naples. You could put a character up there and just have them say hi to guests as they pass by, and not for a very long time because guests would congregate for sure, but 5 or 10 minutes at a time per hour, perhaps. This, of course, assuming that these characters are not, encroaching on guests trying to sit at a table and having their lunches or their dinners. That's still a consideration because they're paying for those tables as opposed to not paying to see, Princess Tiana at the Jazz Kitchen. But I feel like it's something that could be worked out. Meanwhile, there is tons of space behind the ropes in front of the entrance to Disneyland. There is tons of space where they've got that rope well off the front entrance. You could put characters there all day and not have any contact with guests. And again, it would be amazing. It would be magical for that to happen. People would absolutely lose their minds if Cinderella showed up at the front gate and was just waving at guests, for, again, 5 or 10 minutes per hour. I would park myself there just to see that happen, which of course probably is not the greatest idea now that I think about it, but they can figure it out. I think they could. I think they can figure it out. You could do the same thing at DCA. Now they've got, they don't have a rope in front of the gate, so they would have to put them behind the turnstiles, which, you know, it's not as great. It's still good though. It's still good. It would be good to see the character there behind the turnstiles, even though you're looking through the plexiglass and through the turnstile and through the gate and all that stuff. It still would be, I would love to see it. You know how excited I got just to see a cast member walk by? It's still, to this day, when I go to downtown Disney and I look through the gates at DCA, and I watch somebody walk from one building to another, knowing in my mind that they're there to do something, that they're having something, that makes me happy. It would be even better if I saw Mickey in his, you know, Buena Vista Street costume. So easy to do, and hopefully easy to manage. But let's say characters don't move the needle for you. What about something like the Dapper Dans? I'm not saying, well, I guess they could perform out in front of the turnstiles just like the characters, which would be, I don't know what kind of crowd that would draw. But at minimum, how about we you know, cut the music loop at the Esplanade a little bit once an hour again to play a little Dapper Dan's music. You know, I mean, that would, I could just hear it, because so many of us, when we visit Disneyland, you know, hearing the Dapper Dans, or even, you know, the Straw Hatters, or whatever musical group is playing on Main Street at the time, so many times we don't stop to observe the show and watch it in its entirety. We just consume it as we go by casually, and we can hear it in you know, in the side of our ear without being cognizant of what's happening, you know, on the street. And that's the way I would imagine it. Just being able to walk around the Esplanade and just listen to the dance singing would make my heart smile quite a bit. You know, it would be easy and virtually free for Disney, virtually, running the monorail and the Disneyland Railroad. That would be easy for them to do, because they're already doing it for maintenance reasons. They already run the train, and the Mark Twain for that matter. And I know this because people report on it all the time. They go crazy. They lose their minds over hearing the train whistle or the train horn and the Mark Twain whistle from the Mattercam, because you can hear that. If you catch the Mattercam at the right time, you can hear them testing the train. And they have to do this because they have to keep everything operating, and you know, they have to keep running it just to make sure everything is smooth and operating the way it should. If you've already got a crew there to do that, if you've already got maintenance there to do that, why not send it? Send the Disneyland Railroad around on a full Grand Circle tour. Let us look at the train pass by the Main Street train station through the gates, and let us hear up front and personal that train horn. I mean, I know we all have different ways of consuming Disneyland, of loving Disneyland, but speaking personally, for me, if I were to hear that, if I were to hear the Disneyland Railroad, if I were to see the monorail go by, that would straighten my soul out for a good long while. I would be good to go for a good long while. Moving on, I know that some would say, hey, how about you sell a churro in the Esplanade, or some popcorn or a pretzel? And that is a good idea. I wish they could do that, but I don't think they can. I don't think they can do that contractually. They've got an agreement with Downtown Disney, I would imagine, with all the vendors. There are people that are selling pretzels and selling churros in Downtown Disney. I don't know this for sure, but it just seems like a natural assumption, which is why they haven't done that already. But I know that one thing that they can sell, I'm pretty sure that one thing that they can sell is something like balloons. And who knows what else. So there's lots of little delightful things that they sell on Main Street with those little, you know, ODV carts that speak to Disneyland, that give you that Disneyland feeling, the spinner things and the glowy things and, you know, whatever else, things that you play with while you're waiting for the parade. I think it would be positively delightful to see a cast member out there pushing one of those ODV carts and selling balloons. Delightful. That's the only way I can think of it. Okay, now back in Downtown Disney, you know, when we had our video last Saturday, our update from downtown, one of the things I talked about was that there were no Halloween decorations, that they skipped Halloween decorations this year at Downtown Disney. And at first that didn't bother me, but the more I reflect on that, the more it made me sad, and that just more than I thought was possible. I really do miss seeing decorations in the park, especially Halloween decorations, because they're so fun. So that kind of bummed me out, to the point where I really feel like they very much need to do that for Christmas this year. If we assume that Disneyland's not going to be open for the holiday season, then I think that they definitely need to do that much. It's the least they can do. And I can't think of a reason why they cannot, why they did not. They've already got the decorations. It doesn't cost hardly any man hours to install that stuff, I would imagine. I mean, some, but little. The impact would be minimal, I think. And again, it's really the minimum that they can do. And really, with that, I'm sure that there are a few things, lots of things else that they could do. And I want to hear from you guys on that. I want you to post a comment below and let us know what you think are some ways that Disney could, bring a little bit of magic back to downtown Disney and the Esplanade. Some things that remind us of what it feels like to go to Disneyland. Ways to light that spark once again. And finally, I'll close with this. I don't know if it needs to be said or not. Sometimes it does, but this is not coming from a sense of feeling like we're due this as fans, or that it's some kind of entitlement thing. What I'm saying is that these are things that Disney can do in order to keep the magic alive within some of those guests who maybe are, like I said, falling out of love with the park. And again, not for anybody's fault, this thing happened. But I do feel like every day that goes by for some fans, myself not included, I'm in it for the long haul, but I do feel like that every day that goes by for some fans that it gets a little bit easier for them to not, to forget Disneyland, to forget about going. It becomes easier and easier every day that goes by. And I very much want Disney to be able to, like I said, kind of ignite that spark, light that fire again a little bit and remind people just how wonderful and magical Disneyland can be. So on that note, thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and hit that notification bell. That lets you know whenever we've got a new video out. Also, if you would like to support Disney cast members or really any of the people who are affected by the Disney shutdown, that is, the nearby restaurants and small family businesses and the people who work there, lots of people are affected, not just Disneyland cast members, but the whole county really. If you would like to support those folks, I would ask you to consider joining our fundraiser that we've started with the Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County. There is a link in the description below, and you can pledge dollar amounts for specific food if you want, or you can just pledge a dollar amount either way. I think there's a skip to donate or something like that button on the donation form, but there's a link below in the description. Anything can help. And your kindness is deeply appreciated. We love you guys very much. And on that, we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again for watching. And Fresh Baked.